Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. I wanted to take just a quick moment to thank you all who continually support and listen to James Miller Lifeology. I have been so blessed and honored by your continual support. I wanted to make sure that you don't miss out on anything exciting that's happening over here. So make sure you sign up for my free newsletter at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you find and keep your motivation. I'll also be interviewing life coach Zena Contreras in a two-part series. In the first episode, Zena shared her story of overcoming an abusive family system and finding self-empowerment. In this second episode, Zena will teach you her own methodologies for maintaining your motivation. For more information about Zena, please visit askzena.com. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Are you struggling today to find your purpose? Has mediocrity set in and you can't imagine doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Are your relationships struggling or you aren't sure how to make long-lasting changes in your life? Then today, contact me, James Miller. I will help you recognize the areas in your life that are going really well, and then we'll look at the areas in which you are struggling. We will create actionable solutions to help you create long-lasting changes in your life. You don't have to do this alone. Go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page Work with James. Fill out the form and it will be sent directly to me. Don't let another day go by without finding your way. Your change can start today. Once again, go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page Work with James. Fill out that form to get started today. Finding and keeping your motivation. We all have things in our life which motivate us to accomplish a goal. There are 2 different types of motivators. You have an external motivation and an internal motivation. An external motivation is often things we will do to get attention from other people or recognition. The internal motivators, there's this intrinsic belief or intrinsic desire to make a change within yourself. For example, some people may diet and exercise. They do that for themselves. They know that if they don't, they run the risk of certain health ailments. Now, there's also an external motivator for that because sometimes people want others to see the weight that they've lost or to see their new beach body. In everything you do, you have to have what's called a buy-in. You have to believe that what you're going to do is going to change your life in some way. The more you can buy into it, the more it creates the foundational desire to make a long-lasting change and to keep that change. That's one of the most difficult things. We can initially be motivated to do something, but if we don't see some of those changes, all of a sudden we become frustrated and often stop. In everything you do, you want to have this buy-in, but you also want to have clear expectations of what it is you're going to do. There's nothing worse than saying, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to get a new job. The point is, you haven't specified what it is you want. For example, if I have a desire to lose 50 pounds, that's a pretty big goal. The problem is that if I only look at that 50 pounds, then I get frustrated and overwhelmed before I even start. So when you have these clear-cut measurements, you want to make realistic steps. In other words, measurements to determine how close you are to accomplishing your goal. So for this particular goal, if I were to say, every week I want to lose 3 pounds. So in order to do that, these are the things I need to do. And after every week, you're able to check in with yourself. It's really important to quantify or to really measure your progress because that progress is that which motivates you. You get excited about it. And the more motivation you have, the more endurance you have to accomplish any goal you may set. It's important for you to have your long-term goal, but to break it down into the smallest increments so that you can stay motivated and see the progress you've made. If your goal's too large and it feels too overwhelming, you won't have the necessary buy-in to maintain this goal over a certain period of time. So make sure you have as many measurements as possible to stay motivated. Something else to consider is if you're wanting to change something that you really can't see. For example, I want to be a happier person. I want to be more of a peaceful person. Well, you can't measure that because you can't see the emotions. But the way you can measure that itself would be, I know that I'm more peaceful if I don't yell when I communicate. I know that if I meditate every day, that causes me to feel more peaceful. So you want to take actual behaviors which are linked with that type of emotion, and you know that if you do those things on a regular basis, you will feel more happy, more peaceful, or whatever it is you like to accomplish. So think long-term, but also think short-term so that you can really see the progress you're making, because that is how you'll find and keep your motivation. Did you know I have a YouTube channel? That's actually how Lifeology started. I have well over 155 episodes that I've created specifically for you. I do know that many people struggle with listening to a full 30-minute show. So these episodes are about 3 minutes long. Each episode will give you a practical tool or technique that you can practice daily to help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, or go to YouTube and search for my name, James Miller Lifeology. Zena Contreras is an author, speaker, coach, and intuitive with over 20 years of professional consulting and coaching experience. She is an expert in human resources, recruitment, human behavior, branding, and business strategies with an emphasis on motivation. Zena has a reputation for delivering and exceeding clients' expectations. She is recognized for her ability to identify individuals' potential, uncover hidden beliefs, and remove stumbling blocks. She's joined us today in a two-part series. In the first interview, Zena shares her inspirational story of struggle to triumph. In the second part of this series, we will explore her methodologies of coaching and how she helps her clients stay motivated to accomplish all of their dreams. Welcome back to my show, Zena.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, wonderful. I can't wait to delve into how you really help people stay motivated. But before we get started, my listeners definitely go back and listen to the first part of this series. Like I said in the intro, Zena has an amazing inspirational story that was really going to inspire you. And so definitely go back to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and in the radio section there, you can hear the first part of her interview. Zena, so why don't you give us a little bit of a recap of your story, and then we'll jump right into what you're doing today.
Absolutely. So certainly I've overcome tremendous adversities and have experienced a number of different abuses as a child. I'm a high school dropout, single parent of 2 successful young men, and had to pull myself up by my own bootstraps because motivation and being secure and confident wasn't part of my environment.
Sure.
So I utilized everything that was around me and saw how other people were living and just aspired and acquired to live that sort of life.
That's amazing. Yeah, it was, when I heard your story as well, I mean, it really seemed like there was, at the time, like there was no way out. But you shared a couple little situations where you had that glimmer of hope, of motivation, of realizing your life didn't have to be that way. And so it's always amazing when we reflect on our life as far as those little glimmers of hope and how those little glimmers of hope have germinated into the person that you are today, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
So let's jump right into it. So the big thing that you really help people do with your coaching is you help them find motivation. Help us understand your version of what motivation means, and maybe some of the pitfalls that people really struggle with to stay motivated.
Absolutely. So everyone is broken in one capacity or another. And everyone has the capacity to really live an abundant life, whatever that looks like for them. And abundance doesn't always have to mean wealth, prosperity. It could mean love, joy, peace, happiness, wholeness. And so we get trapped in the pitfalls of our lives. And a lot of times that has to do with the past. So we have these past wounds or past triggers that we think that we have gotten over or forgiven, or they don't, reside within us anymore. They don't affect us. But yet everything that we do, something touches that. And an example of that is if you, and I'm speaking for myself, coming from abuse, I thought, well, I'll never get into an abusive relationship because I came from so much abuse as a child. So I never married because I didn't want to risk getting into abuse. However, because I didn't deal with that, I started to have abusive employers, verbally abusive, neglectful of my time and work life, neglectful of the fact that I was a single parent, even so much giving me bad performance reviews when I was the top performer. So if you don't deal with something, it will manifest in other areas of your life.
Wow, well, first off, thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry that you experienced it. But I think that's such a powerful revelation for yourself and even for my listeners as well, that there will be that common thread that will demonstrate itself or manifest itself in other areas of one's life. So that is very great insight. And so thank you for sharing that with us. How do you help people really identify those elements of perhaps repeated behaviors or repeated patterns overall?
Sure. So one of the things that every one of my clients go through is a success assessment. And it really is based upon the internal energy and the chakras. And it is very accurate, as a matter of fact. It will tell me whether there's some deficiencies as it relates to physical elements or emotional elements. And then what I do is I peel back the layers of what that might look like. And then people will say something happened, or it might even reveal one of my clients recently is struggling with finding a job because she's temped all over the place. And it revealed to me that she didn't have confidence. And so she struggles with understanding her value in life. And so we need to go and we need to dive into that a little bit. And then part of the coaching that I do is really understanding those roadblocks and how they show up. It's very important for people to look into the mirror and see how they show up, because they have no idea how their energy is showing up before their personality or before their physical appearance. And that actually will cause the roadblocks and all of the different things in their lives. And so we try to motivate them to understand that everything is a process and everything can be tweaked, navigated, moved around, and you can actually start to see the shift in your life by just looking at some of these things and then moving them away if that's what you want to do.
So the first part of it, you really help them identify with your assessment tools, help them look at all areas of their life, not only the mental, the spiritual, the physical elements of that kind of all links together to demonstrate, like you said, where those roadblocks are. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's wonderful, because it's true, because, your spirit, mind, body, that is so obviously so relevant, but they all work together in such a powerful way that if one of those areas are struggling, then the rest of the body is going, the rest of the person is going to be lopsided, if you will. And it's unfortunate because people do make those snap judgments, even with ourselves, like you said, showing up and looking in the mirror. We make that snap judgment with ourselves, but also the world will also make those snap judgments as soon as they see us as well. And unfortunately, that can limit us, and it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy of we're never able to get ahead.
Yeah. Receiving some sort of clarity. The woman that I spoke with on Sunday, she had been diagnosed with a chronic vomiting syndrome and actually is now on disability and moving towards getting Social Security. And one of the things that I had realized in the assessment is her self-worth and her self-value. Well, she had been in a 10-year abusive relationship.
Oh, wow.
And the man left her, but then she turned that around as to, I've been abandoned.
Oh,
and
goodness.
All of that stuff was coming up, and it really was, there's no disease. This is just her vomiting out all of the stuff that she had been suppressing for the last 10 years. When I shared that with her, just the light bulb. I mean, I could hear her energy resonating over the phone. She said, no one ever told me that.
Wow.
I thought that I would have to be on Social Security earning $1,500 a month for the rest of my life. And I am a Penn State graduate and all of this other stuff. And I thought, you don't have to do that.
No, you don't. That physical manifestation definitely is the linkage between that and one's self-perception. The way it works in psychology is whatever you perceive to be true determines what you feel. What you feel determines what you do. And so those, like you said, those negative core beliefs were the physical manifestation of her self-perception.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you're able to help her with that. That's so encouraging to hear that as well. So you have the first part of it of just really finding motivation. How do you help people maintain that level of motivation?
So I have probably about 8 different modalities, spiritual modalities and ancient practices that I utilize with people. And I like them to think of me as a personal trainer. I know that you're very physically fit. And, that trainer's like, give me 10 more. I'm like, give me 10 more.
I love it.
So I give them a lot of different tools. And some of the tools are feng shui. We look at their environment. We look at how their environment is showing up for them. We look at their energy. We look at nutrition. We look at affirmations. What are they telling themselves? We believe so many people don't even look in the mirror to even talk to themselves.
Yeah.
So what is their prayer like? What is their meditation life like? And so we look at a lot of different aspects to really find a customized daily plan that would work for someone. And that actually keeps them motivation. As a physical fitness person, that you get bored doing the same thing after a while.
Yes.
So we just infuse different tools. Monday, you're going to give me motivation. Tuesday, we're going to work on the feng shui. Wednesday, we're going to work on affirmations and I am statements. Thursday, we're going to work on food and nutrition. We're going to infuse some aromatherapy in there and also look at other different modalities that are actual spiritual practices that have worked for ancient times.
Zena, I really love this because I've worked with many different professionals like yourself, and maybe they do this, but they've never told me this. But I love how you have all these modalities that you use from the spiritual, the physical, the mental. All of that is so so visceral and so powerful. I mean, that's definitely something I teach myself in my own with my own methodologies. But I'm really liking to hear how yours is very practical. It's very treatment oriented, if you will, as far as all elements of things that you do, and you help people not feel so overwhelmed with this aspect of, oh, you're going to change. Well, how am I going to change? So you really give them these practical days, if you will, or ways in which you really help them take control of their life, take control of their environment, take control of their mind to help them see that progress and change. You know, you use that element of working out. Well, when we work out and we see how we look perhaps in the mirror, that is a really good motivator. So I love to hear how you do this in so many other ways as well.
Well, it's important. And going back to the physical, you know that if you have a really, really tough trainer and you're not seeing the results, chances are you're not going to go back and you're not going to stick with that.
Yeah, that's very
true.
You
know, you started New Year's resolution. I want to lose weight. I go to these different programs. I don't like the food. So there's a lot of different things. And I like to tell people we are going to build a treasure test, which will be your toolbox for life. Whether you're using Zena Contreras or not, you will then be able to go back and tap into these tools and say, this is what worked for me. This is what worked for me. I mean, I've used every one of these tools in my life. I have seen manifestation. I manifested a place by the ocean as a result of creative visualization and using my 5 senses. So I teach them everything that I have done. I am talking the talk and walking the walk. And I know that these modalities work. I've been in practice and education and studies for 22 years now through different teachers and different schools and churches. So I just don't want to be a one-trick pony and say, this is what you have to do. Sure. And then they fall off and they go back living their life. I want to be able to offer them other tools that they can incorporate at any point in their life.
Well, you create that framework with them and give them, like you said, multiple tools for them to determine, well, today this is something I can do. So after they don't work with you anymore, they have this abundance of multiple tools that they can immediately implement and help them move beyond whatever barrier that they have.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this I Succeed Network. I know that was something you created. Tell us more about that business.
So absolutely. I Succeed Network is the parent company that I operate under. I had a successful speaking career in Arizona. I'm a published author. I've written a Christian-based book in the recession. And so I was out in Arizona when I lived there, motivating and going to different women's organizations. And what I saw, particularly in the recession, is everyone was jumping on, let's say, a network marketing or a multi-level marketing band so that they could, augment or supplement their income. And for me, people weren't showing up professionally. I have a very professional background with working for all the major studios and major corporations. And I believe the way you show up is the way life is going to present itself to you. So I started to teach them corporate principles, business strategies in these workshops, in these networking meetings. And people started to brand themselves and start to have different levels of success. Wow. Doesn't matter whether you're selling Avon or Amway, you have to brand yourself. What do you do? What do you bring to the table? Because people are following you if they join your organization. And I'm not part of any network marketing. But because I was using those principles in the school and the skills that I learned in corporate America, people were having levels of success. So I thought, well, I'll start my own network group and I'll do this virtually and I'll build some packages and I'll do some different things so that I'm able to help people so that they can see anything will work as long as you work it. That's my philosophy. Anything will work as long as you work it. I've known people who sold oranges on the corner and literally there was a homeless couple that sold oranges for 5 years and were able to pay cash for a small mobile home in Arizona. So anything will work if you work it.
I really like how you talk about that personal branding. I think that's so interesting and so powerful. I actually have a lot of people with whom I work as well. And they're like, James, something just isn't going right when it comes to my relationships or this or that. And I'm thinking, well, everything you do, just like you just said, it's a brand. How you present yourself, if it's incongruent in different ways, people are going to recognize that. People who simply follow you value if you have a personal Facebook page or you have different elements or different social media channels. You represent yourself in a certain way. So everyone has a brand and they don't realize it. So I love hearing how you really help people recognize that everything they do, how they show up, how they present themselves, not only at home or to the world around them, creates the platform of how they present themselves in the world, how they present themselves to the world, if it's incongruent from how they truly feel inside versus how they present out to the world, there is going to be that disconnect. And so I love hearing how you're very good at helping people look at everything they do. If it's out of whack or out of sync, then it isn't, they are going to cause themselves to have these stumbling blocks and not be as successful as they want to be.
Absolutely. James, that even goes as far as my teaching with my children. Coming from a very dysfunctional environment and having two multiracial boys, it was very important that my boys were accountable and responsible because I didn't see that in the homes that I grew up in. And I didn't see that from the men that were supposed to be guiding and helping me. So one of the things that is very, very important that I've always told my two boys is you need to be accountable for what you say. If you're going to tell me something, then that's what you have to do. So I'd rather you not tell me and me not set those expectations. So being a high school dropout, both of my children are in college. Both of them are pursuing medical careers. And I didn't encourage that because how could I encourage something that I didn't do? But what they did is because I made them responsible and accountable for how they were showing up, even to the fact when they had attitudes or teenage things going on, I said, I don't want to deal with that. Take your funkiness. This is me and my mom. I would say, take your funky attitude and take it away from me. I don't want that in my space and I don't want that in my energy. And so I do that. Parents, we can do that with our children to shift their lives.
Yes.
And they will take that information that we give them, that parenting model, and they will use that in their adult lives. I don't know where I came up with two children that are pursuing medical careers and one wanting to be a surgeon and one wanting to be a psychologist.
That's amazing.
How could that happen from a high school dropout, right?
Well, I think the element is, regardless of someone's, as you know this, of course, whether someone's dropped out or not, the boundaries that you set, the personal integrity that you set allows the foundation for all dreams to come true.
Absolutely.
That's really wonderful. So the whole aspect for you when it comes to motivation, how have you found that just maybe some of the results you've gotten from some of the clients you have?
One client that I met a photographer in Georgia, and I was doing a photo shoot. And unbeknownst to me, he was really struggling in his marriage. And something in my spirit just said, pull him to the side and have a conversation while we're in the middle of this photo shoot. And he started to share different things with me. And I can tune into people's triggers really, really quickly because of the words that they use.
Sure.
And so we started to talk, and I told him that he needed to change his conversation with his wife and affirm her a little bit more because of some situations that went on. And 3 months later, he said, you saved my marriage. Like we were in counseling with the pastor and that didn't even work. Well, I had him look at how she was showing up, not the words she was using, because sometimes words are very cutting. They're very hurtful. And so he was focusing more on the words. And so just simple techniques and looking at how she's showing up and what happened that caused this situation. The other thing that I'm very good at doing is listening to people and really watching their energy, watching how, a lot of people say things, but their actions are something totally different.
It's true.
And they don't realize the correlation because when we send that energy out into the universe is always friendly, always supplying, always going to give us exactly what we're doing or what we're saying or we're not saying. And so some people think that, oh, my prayers are not being answered. Prayers are being answered all the time. Are you looking for the answer?
Yes, that's
or are
right.
you looking for something specific? And so I really try to show people how life is showing up for them tangibly. An example of that is a woman said, well, you said that I was going to be rich. And I said, no, I didn't say you were going to be rich. I said, you have the possibility to have a solid income. And what does that look like? And then what happened was she turned down 3 jobs because it didn't look like what she wanted. And I thought, well, what if those jobs were just the entry into
the stepping stone.
that organization?
Yes.
And then it looked like you took a step back, but then when you really showed up with all of your education and all of your background, so I really help people to see, I like to use the word capacity, and I probably overuse it. We have so much capacity within us. We come from an infinite divine source. Everything is available to us. And I help people to see that in their hopeless situation. Take any situation, test me, and I will show you how you can turn that around, or how you can look at that differently. So one of the things that I do with motivation is have people understand everything is a lesson, or everything is a blessing.
Yes.
And if it's a lesson, then you're very close to the blessing. If it's a blessing, then you need to learn a lesson. So it's just hand in hand.
Yes, it is. I love this. I think this is such exciting information that you're giving us. And I know that, many people may not, this may be new for some people, but when they work with you or just learn more about you and all the things that you do, I'm confident that they too will find the changes in their life. So Zena Contreras, thank you so much for being a guest with us today. If my listeners would like to find out more information about you and all the amazing things that you're doing, where would they find this information online?
Absolutely. I have a website called Ask Zena, AskZena.com. You can certainly look at my background and my profile on LinkedIn under Zena Contreras. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. Just reach out to me, have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions or give you an initial assessment so that we can see if we can work together.
Wonderful. Well, Zena, thank you once again for joining with us today. I really appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise in this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.